እንደምን አደራችሁ? Good morning, everyone. I will do a very short summary of what was done yesterday. I will not go into detail because it was long and very vast titles covered. Well, the title is very clear, the title of the conference. Would you go to the next slide, please? I tried to rearrange just to give you a highlight what was discussed yesterday in the morning session and then the afternoon session. In the morning session, there was an opening, then there was a short recap of the Dream 1 and the pre-events, and then all the speakers, the keynote speakers, stressed on the challenges to the lowland developments. But there are not only challenges, there are also opportunities for lowland development. And also they put a kind of way forward. We are not only talking about challenges and opportunities, but how can we grasp all those opportunities. And the afternoon session is more technical, very more detailed into the Dream 1 and the pre-events. The Gullies challenge in Jijiga area, the mind map exercise, the coordination, how it works, how can we make it effective, and the breakout sessions, what is really needed from organizations to make cooperation and coordination very effective, and what external supporters are needed. These are, I think, the short summary. I'm not going to do all the details, but just to make a highlight. In the opening, what's very interesting is it started with prayers and blessing, which is not common in international conferences usually. And what strikes me is that particularly people mentioned about the severe drought that is currently happening in the lowland areas of the country. I only caught one prayer and blessing, that language which I can speak and hear, that is in Afan Oromo. And so he stressed that the drought, the severe drought in this year is very, very concerning. So he asked for his Almighty, for God, to bring us his blessings. That's very interesting. Next is an opening and an introduction to the Dream 2 conference, but going back and remembering what was the outcomes from Dream 1 and what were the pre-events took place after Dream 1 and what were the challenges since then that encountered us or that we faced, like the global COVID-19 challenges, conflicts, and many other problems. So the idea is that there was an outcome from Dream 1, but it didn't go very well as planned due to those global and local challenges. But there are more organizational internal problems that were discussed in the afternoon by Dr. Paul. This is a short recap by Dr. Elizabeth. Please, next slide. Then all the keynote speakers and presenters, they focused on the challenges. What are the challenges of the lowland areas? It was said, again and again. It's only repeating them, okay? Repeating them is very good to put in people's mind. One is climate variability, which is really very much related to climate change, global climate change. The recurring droughts in the lowland areas, which is common in Ethiopia, which was like in 10 years or 5 years' time in the past, but now it's almost every year or every 2 years. So it's becoming alarming. And then the land degradation in those lowland areas. In fact, land degradation is not the only problem in lowland areas, it's also for highland areas, but it affects more the lowland areas. Floods, sometimes we talk about drought, but at the same time also we talk about floods. For example, my Afar colleagues very well about the problems, the challenges of floods they face every year. population growth, unemployment, and conflicts. These are the major problems that we observe in the lowland areas of Ethiopia. There are also uncertainties in the future that due to the global situations, for example, the war that is taking place between Ukraine and Russia is definitely affecting us. We are seeing the outcomes that Dr. Elizabeth mentioned and stressed. So these are all challenges added up to the existing challenges. Please, next step. But there are also opportunities. My colleague Tazarra mentioned that we only talk about limitations, the problems and challenges of the lowland areas, but there are also immense opportunities. There are immense possibilities, potentials that we can dwell on. Many people also stressed that. All the speakers stressed on this one. One is that there's huge land mass, as the state minister mentioned. It's about 65% of the land mass of Ethiopia. This is a big potential. It's not only the land, but also it's cultivable land, fertile soil, virgin soils. So this is a big potential. We have vast rangeland. It was mentioned by the discussants here as well, by the keynote speakers. That is very big potential that we can take as an opportunity, livestock population. Good potential of water resources as well. Many people do not really understand this. We only talk that the lowland areas are water deficit. Of course, there's water deficit, but there is a potential, huge potential. The groundwater potentials, my colleagues who came from Jijjiga, Somalia, particularly Shirille zone, they know the underground water with huge potential. Sometimes we say it's the underground lake. The Borana case, I was a part of the exploration team 10 years back. Borana was very, water deficit area, but the groundwater potential is very, very huge. So we can tap those all potentials. The flood is, we can, mention or think flood is a hazard, but it's also an opportunity if we manage it. So flood-based irrigation systems, which is globally accepted and became very important nowadays. So these are all potential. But above all, people. It was mentioned yesterday and stressed that people are the most important resources in the lowland areas with all the systems. So basically, we have been saying that people, land with its own resources, water are very important in growing or in transforming the lowland areas. That was what was discussed yesterday. Not only that, there are large number of development partners working in the lowland areas. My colleague Dubale can help me. Tazarra can help me. A lot of partners, development partners, donors are working in the lowland areas, but not organized. This is a good potential. Huge finance is being mobilized by the government and at the same time by development partners, but it's not coordinated. It's not harmonized. This is a problem. So this is a big opportunity that we can take. The limitations to change this to opportunity is not working together. That's the only point. Then as a way ahead, way forward, all the keynote speakers and the participants discussed that. One important thing is everybody agrees that developing and transforming lowland areas is very important, but with great caution. The state minister stressed, and also participants stressed that we need to balance between the existing lifestyle of the lowland pastoralists, at the same time development or transformation. And development is beyond, resilience is beyond development. So we need to talk about resilience beyond development. We have to approach in a holistic manner, not in piecemeals, not in small parties. That is one thing that the participants, as well as the discussants, dream is for this, is to bring all the efforts, to bring all the resources, and then implement, try to transform the lowland areas, work together, create new systems. as a summary, comprehensive development plan for the lowland development areas is needed. And who should be on the driving seat? Well, some say the government. There should be a sort of task force. Yesterday also some say the people themselves. I think this is for discussion. Next, please. From the participants, very important point is empowering the people is very important. That's one thing. Capacity building, particularly developing human mind. I think my colleague from Afar was mentioning this one, stressing, and making use of indigenous knowledge. There's really very important and useful indigenous knowledge that we can use for this coordination cooperation. Creating enabling environment, like institutional setup, and how we can bring those coordination. This is said over and over, not limiting the mobility of pastoralists, but still we can do the development and resilience. Sensitive issues. Land tenure is very important. For lowland areas, I think one of our colleagues mentioned that you can give away as a gift any domestic animal, but you cannot do that on land. That means it's very sensitive. So land tenure, land administration is also to be considered in this coordination cooperation efforts. Ensuring women's empowerment and participation. Yesterday, Dr. Elizabeth asked the participants of women to stand up and show up, but only very few, and I don't know, 2 or 3, and that's very sad. So this is very important. Without the participation of women, to bring a sustainable development, resilience is difficult in those areas. In the afternoon sessions, I'm not going to deal in detail with Dr. Paul, the important lessons that we can take from Dream 1 and the subsequent events, and then go forward for the next, after Dream 2. This is a main message. Next, please. In Gali development, the technical aspects were presented, but the important thing is that the state minister commitment to visit the area after listening to the hazard, the threat of the Gali development, at least mostly to the Jijiga town, he committed himself that to go visit the area and take appropriate actions. That is very, really important issues that we need to address here. And this is also an area where we can immediately start for cooperation and coordination, because it's really a threat which is in front of us. So these are the 2 things that we can think of. Next, please. Well, in the afternoon, again, the coordination and cooperation, the conceptual, theoretical aspects of coordination and cooperation were discussed. I'm not going to in detail, but with group exercises, the most important thing is the economic and the political interests of each of our organizations were discussed, and the outcome is basically, when summarized, improving the livelihood of pastoral and agro-pastoral communities is that everybody agrees upon. That's one thing. Ensuring peace and stability, instead of always talking about conflict and other things, peace and stability, and develop resilience finally. This is the outcome of the discussion on cooperation and okay, the breakout sessions. What can your organization do better? That is one thing. Every group discussed very well. Posted here is a lot of list of recommendations and the proposals that I cannot go through all. And what are the external supports required for this? These are the 2 main things. So these are the whole list of recommendations. Please, next slide. But when we summarize, comprehensive plan and the synchronization is very important. This all boils down into this summary. From external support, lot of lists, but technical, financial, and capacity building support are very, very important issues. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.